Round of applause. Go ahead. Slow clap. We're gonna keep things moving here. Okay, you tell me when it hits. No, I mean we should start at 6. There it is. Okay. Oh, I'm late now. Okay. Good evening, everybody. We're going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to recess the regular meeting, and we're going to open the public meeting for the annual student investment account year-end report and grant agreement / longitudinal performance growth targets. Brent?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Campbell. In your packets, you have some documents, and Assistant Superintendent Lambert is going to walk you through it a little bit.
Chairman Campbell and Mr. Berry. So every year we need to ask the board to approve the annual report for the student investment account. Just as a reminder, that's the Oregon corporate tax. With that, it would be common practice to have the discussion in November and then have time to think about it and public comments in December. But we did have the JAB meeting, and so I apologize for that. So I will ask the board to, after we receive public comment for the public meeting, to consider suspending the rules to approve the annual reports, if possible, so that I can continue submission of the report to the Oregon Department of Education.
We actually have it as an action item, so
Perfect.
we don't even need to do that. Yep.
That's on me, my bad. I apologize. I appreciate your flexibility there. One thing I'd like to note is that we did have a pretty large expense that was not in the plan that you approved last year at this time, and that is for the remodel of the school-based health center at Phoenix High School. So you'll see a nearly $300,000 expense for that. It's beautiful. We now have the spot for 2 therapist office, 2 exam rooms, registration desk, and that was really a direct result from student requests that we have a more private area for them to receive health services and therapy services there. So thank you for that. We were able to pay for that with the ADM security portion of SIA plus some rollover that we had, and we were able to offset some of the curriculum expenses through ESSER. So that's where we came up with that $300,000 to do that. And then just a reminder that the student investment account is our 25% match for our federal mental health grants that Kelly oversees there. So that's where we have a lot of our La Clinica expenses in that. Other big expenses are our elementary and music programs. Our teacher salaries are paid out of SIA. We bought a lot of instruments. They're a little bit expensive, but they're beautiful and they look nice. They sound great too. Thanks, Sarah. PTRA, our Rising Academy, is funded out of SIA, so you'll see that expense. We also, a big expense is primary instructional assistance for kindergarten and first grade, bilingual aid support, and then some of our health staff that supports mental health for that 25% grant. We have a portion of our school psychologists in that grant and a portion of the school resource officer. So you'll see that there. So that was the 22-23 year in report. And I just try to summarize it in because you don't want to actually see the report that I submit. So I summarize the questions there for you. If you have anything you'd like to ask or open for public meeting.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Is anyone here to speak on behalf of this topic? Okay. Hearing none. I just want to thank you for all the hard work, and as someone who pays the tax, I want to say I feel like it's going to a good cause. So thank you for everything you do and for everything this provides for our students. So thank you.
Is it okay if I talk about this year's plan?
Please.
Okay. So this year's plan is actually part of the integrated guidance, which is new to us. They put the 6 pillars, these major grants, into integrated guidance to reduce paperwork. But student investment account was legislatively mandated that it still needs to be open for public meeting and then approval. So that's why we still have SIAs a little bit separate. The plan's going to look very similar. We still have that ADM security portion of SIA, which is really helping to keep us whole a little bit. What you're going to see is less expense from La Clinica because the services at the high school are being able to bill themselves through billing insurance and OHP. So that's nice. But since we still have that 25% match, we're putting in other medical needs. So we have our school district nurse now that will go into SIA. So that will offset some of those La Clinica costs. So pretty much it's music, it's PTRA, it's mental health, school safety is still what's covered in the 23-24 plan. And then the longitudinal performance growth targets are divided, disaggregated by subgroups to really help what kind of growth we need for all students to meet the benchmarks in reading and math. And those are set in cooperation with Oregon Department of Education.
Very good. Any additional questions? Okay. Go for it.
Which I'm gonna ask offline. Well, okay, I'm gonna ask it. So, how concerned do we need to be about music programs being funded under ADM security that's going away in 2025 with all of this really great, from my perspective, thing? So how concerned do we need to be?
I don't know if I can speak for the superintendent or the board, but right now, what we used out of the ADM security portion were the instruments. So trying to use some of those limited time funds for one-time expenses. So we've also used a lot of those funds for things like curriculum. What can we buy ahead of time that will benefit us for years to come? So right now, the music teachers, the salary is in the regular SIA. And our SIA is up a little bit this year and from last year. That depends on the corporate tax. So we also hope for really good Oregon economy, and it's looking pretty good right now. So.
In the last revenue forecast, it looks really good for the next this biennium to finish out and the next biennium. So that's pretty secure. And the less we have to pay through that La Clinica funding, which was a pretty good chunk, the more we can put those funds into other services and programs. It's a good question, though.
Okay, did you have any comments?
I just wanted to thank the integrated guidance team, the committee for really kind of gathering the feedback and the work that's just done, kind of putting these reports together to get up to ODE, and thanks for the board's support in that.
Very good. Thank you, Tiffany. That closes the public meeting for the annual student investment account report. We will now return to the general session, and we have accentuate the positive.
Good evening, board and everybody. My name is Shauna Schleif. I'm the principal at Phoenix Elementary, but I'm also representing Heather Lowe today. She wishes that she were here, but she's up at the law conference learning about some really important things happening here. So she asked me to report on the fact that there's a winter concert coming up on Monday. Speaking of music, Sarah, December 11th at Talent Middle School. Thank you, Talent Middle School, for allowing the use of that space. She said, many thanks to Wendy Savage for all of her work preparing for the show, and thanks to TMS for allowing us to use the big gym, and please join us for a night of fun. Another huge thanks and shout out to our special education teachers and paraprofessionals. They work incredibly hard to ensure our students get the best quality support that they deserve. And then finally, she just wanted to wish everybody a happy holidays. News from PTRA. Aaron's also up at the law conference. He said, instead of a field trip this month, PTRA had an interactive science workshop last Friday. We learned all about reptiles and amphibians from John Jackson, also known to the students as the bug guy. We all got to pet a box turtle named Shelly and a bearded dragon named Chewy. We also learned a lot about local reptiles and amphibians in the Rogue Valley, and we had kindergartners through 7th graders, grandparents, parents, and several other extra siblings, and everyone learned something new. The whole family engagement is a fundamental value of PTRA and an essential consideration when they plan activities to make sure that they're really inclusive. So that's news from PTRA. And then finally from PES, I just wanted to share a few positives. First, I want to give a shout out to Jenny Brown. She's our new instructional coach, but she's also been doing a dual role as we've had kind of a hard time filling her position. So she's been doing half-time teaching and half-time instructional coaching and learning that role. So today she organized our first SEEKS training where teachers got to go and observe one another. And she's just doing a phenomenal job of just balancing it all and just showing up with a lot of grace and a willingness to learn. And she's just doing a great job of being a leader in that regard. So I want to just give a shout out to her. We also have a winter concert coming up. We got to participate in some rehearsals today, and it's going to be a wonderful show happening at Phoenix High School because our gym space is just a little too small. So we're going to be doing our performance next Tuesday evening from 6 to 7. And we look forward to that. A big shout out to Andrea and Wendy. As you can imagine, putting on these performances is no small feat, and they're doing a fantastic job. I have two other announcements. First, I want to recognize that we've had a lot of people who have been on leave, and so we've had some phenomenal substitutes. So Chris Richardson is a retired PE teacher, also the father of Carly Richardson, PE teacher here at PES, who stepped in to fill in for PE and just comes with such wisdom and a great attitude, just rolls with things, and he's dealing with some personal stuff, but he comes and has just been a great addition to PES, so I just want to thank him for his service. Ada Gonzalez is also, she has been an amazing sub for Christian C. Kairos, and the kids are going to miss her when she's gone, and we hope that she just sticks around and subs for us a lot because she's been a part of the team for sure. Sally Connors is our hugs person, and she's been filling in for Faith Melton, who's out on leave, and just, again, a seamless transition, and the kids now think of her as the teacher, and, you know, like, it's just great when that happens for kids, and the adult that's serving them, just they bond, and she's done an amazing job. And then finally, Laura Blake has been filling in, and she is an IA, also a certified teacher's filling in for a classified role, and she's hoping to just stick around and sub. So the whole saying of once a pirate, always a pirate is ringing true for all of these people. Finally, I want to say that we're going to have, I've heard that there might be some elves visiting PES next week. There's been some rumor that they've been around town doing some mischief, and so we're kind of curious. We want to kind of ward them off, but sometimes they get a little pesky. So we're gonna be curious about what they might do to bring some cheer to our PES students next week. And that's it from PES.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shauna. Good evening, everyone. Kent Valier, principal at Orchard Hill. And actually, Caitlin and Catherine, if you want to give me your things, I can represent you too. Since, like, my friend Shauna got everybody there. But a couple of board meetings ago, I reported about a kind of fun partnership between Orchard Hill and Phoenix High School. Last time I had a 5th grade class visit David Ford's construction class. Today took another 4th, 5th blended class down, and I want to publicly thank Jessica Rollins. They had a great time. They did a fun coil pot clay project that they created, went down to lunch, they came back and they painted them, and Jessica's going to fire them and get them all cooked up and bring them up to Phoenix High School. But it's fun to watch their eyes and the excitement of the high school and having them dream of being a pirate one day. So I want to thank Jessica again, and thanks Kaylin and everybody at the high school for supporting that. We had also the winter program was last night at Orchard Hill. Had a lot of people in the gym. There's nothing like the joy of watching families watch their little ones up on stage performing. So I really want to thank the board for your continued support of elementary music. Those are special moments for families for a long, long time. Also want to publicly thank Ashley Sims and our wellness team. A week ago, we had a chili cook-off on a Friday. So staff brought kind of all their favorite recipes. Diane Wolf actually won the chili cook-off, but it was a fun event and a nice event that staff coordinate to kind of keep the wellness idea alive and well. And lastly, I just want to publicly thank Jessica Hamlin. Last week, we had a halfway serious situation with a staff member and an issue regarding some medication. And Jessica came up and actually went to a pharmacy and brought the medication back and just it was an inspirational moment to see the human resources department be human resources and like care department. So I wanted to thank her for her support and just let you know that what a great job she does and her care for our staff in the district. Thanks. All right, Catherine, you're up.
Thank you, Kent. Good evening. My name is Catherine Holden. I'm the principal of Talent Middle School. It's great to see everybody here tonight. A lot of highlights, so I'll go quick. But our scavenger hunt team yesterday went to SOU for the adjudication after 3 really hard days of work last week. And sure enough, they brought home the trophy of 3rd place this year, but it was super, super close. It was a 6-point margin, I guess. So they were right there. So they did a great job. We wanted to thank Sandra Tringolo for her coaching and her incredible work to make that happen. We're super excited because we also will have OBOB and Brain Bowl happening this year as well at Talent Middle School, which is 2 more extracurriculars that we're excited about. We continue to be really lucky to have some great family and community volunteers this year. I know I mentioned this, I think, before, but our chess club, our concession stand has been up and running, providing supervision during lunch, helping out in the office. We have a bunch of parents who have donated baked goods for a bake sale tomorrow for the Talent Holiday Festival of Lights. So we've just been really grateful that parents are showing up and doing great things. And we wanted to share an excerpt, from a social media post, which we know are not always the things that we get excited about reading. But we had a parent who visited our school. She spent the day shadowing her student. And then she shared on Facebook. A friend of mine passed this my way. At first, I wasn't quite sure because it just said, "Did you see this yet?" And I thought, do I want to read this right before I'm going to bed? I'm not sure. But I read it, and sure enough, an excerpt from that, the parent wrote, "The teachers were amazing. Almost every teacher did some sort of mindfulness, breathing, or self-esteem technique in the beginning of class to help the kids become present in their bodies for learning. As community members, I feel that the teachers are holding a lot of space for our children, and if there's any way that we can support the teachers, we should do our best, as it gives our children an even better education when the teachers are supported." So that was really nice. It went on. It was actually much, much longer than that, and all of it was really kind and very positive. So I appreciated that. Our band concert is coming up on December 13th. So that's on Wednesday next week at 6 o'clock over at Talent Middle School in our large gym. And then the last thing I wanted to say really quickly, just because for me it felt substantial, and I've had Allison actually look it up. So if I look at the 8 days last year from the Monday after Thanksgiving break till yesterday, which was Wednesday. So 5 school days plus 3 school days, 8 days. Last year, over those 8 days, we had 39 referrals. So again, back to kind of our behavior support system that we've been working really hard on. So 39 referrals. Again, that referrals don't capture every single thing that's happening in the building, but it is a data point that's pretty significant. So 39 over 8 days last year. This year, same set of days, Monday after Thanksgiving until yesterday, which was the Wednesday. 23, and actually 5 of those were document only, which means they didn't need any actual support from the office. So if you subtract those 5, it means we were down to 18. So that is literally half as many referrals as we had in the same stretch of time last year. And not only does that really mean that the teachers are working hard to have good routines in their classrooms, the kids are learning the behaviors that we expect of them, but it's also creating a lot more space for me and Allison to be doing the other great things that we want to be doing besides behavior management. And so, for example, I was out and able to do 8 or 9 mini observations over those same 8 days, whereas last year I know for a fact I did 0 over those same 8 days. So for me, it's just feeling the momentum of things moving in the right direction, and that was one data point that I wanted to share with everybody. So thank you so much.
Good evening, Kaylin Cross, proud principal of the Pirate Ship. Just a couple of things from us. Our student reps are going to have a lot of really awesome things to share with you, and we met so that we wouldn't share the same progress, right? We're working on it. So I first wanted to share that we have finished compiling our data for honor roll for first quarter. We had 226 students hit a 3.5 GPA or higher first quarter, which is phenomenal. Out of those 226, 90 of those students are 4.0 students last quarter. So we're really excited about that, and we're excited to celebrate them with some cookies and some certificates and some celebration. Right before Thanksgiving, as you know, we had conferences. At PHS, we do student-led conferences, and we spend a couple of weeks before conferences prepping students in advisory class. We had great attendance, and we were sending out a survey to parents this coming week to just hear how it went in their opinion and to get some feedback. We're also doing that with our staff so that we can make some changes. We've done some kind of like rinsing and repeating of what we've done because it's been so successful the last several years, but we are just getting some more feedback, and I wanted you to be aware of that. I wanted to shout out to Alyssa Barber, who's our instructional coach. Not only did she step in to sub for our science class 3 weeks before Thanksgiving break, but she also has jumped right back into her instructional coaching role and offered a mini PD with us yesterday on listening and how to use dyad listening in classrooms. It was a short and sweet 20-minute PD, but staff loved it, and we're really thankful to focus on that. Other news, we did have our winter sports kickoff. I always like to shout out to cheer, which, as you know, had some low numbers last year, but now we have both a varsity and a JV cheer squad this winter, which makes me very excited. And then I also was able to get into several classrooms over the last few days, and I just want to shout out to our teachers who continue to make magic happen in classrooms. Lots of rich discussion between students, even though you can feel that buzz of energy for winter break, just still very focused. And I'm excited to see that as we come back from winter break. That's all from us.
Thank you so much. That everything? Okay. Anything from the board?
I attended the Phoenix tree lighting, where all of the choir students from Phoenix Elementary, Talent Elementary, Orchard Hill Elementary were invited to sing a few songs. And it was packed. Like, there was so many, it was raining, it was dark. There were so many families there. It was a lot of fun. These kids are working real hard. And that music. Yeah.
That was mine too. I didn't see, I saw Polly from afar, but I didn't, but, I've been to several Phoenix tree lightings, and this was very, very well attended. And so really nice to see lots of new faces, lots of families, and see the district really represented well there too. So kudos to our music teachers and to the chamber and city who put that on.
I was gonna let you keep going. We're learning things. Thank you, everybody. I had a chance to attend the Orchard Hill holiday concert last night. My daughter, she had drumsticks. I said, "Oh, it was good drumming." She's like, "It wasn't drumming. I was banging sticks together." I was like, "Okay, that's cool." But I just want to say, last year we were on the floor, and this year we had chairs, and I really appreciated the chairs. So thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Okay. Next is citizens' comments. Do we have anyone here that wishes to speak before the board? No one online. Okay. Moving on. Student representative report. Hey, everybody. Go for it.
Okay. My student report this week was over our school's yearly giving tree. The tree is placed in our office, and we hang little paper ornaments on the tree, which have the wishes for little kids and families in need, what gifts they want. We get these from the elementary, all 3 elementaries in our district, and including this year, our Phoenix Talent Rising building. And our goal is to, make some little kids who maybe families can't afford what they want, Christmas gift come true.
Hello? Is it working? Okay. Hello? Okay. Um, I would just like to add on to that. Mr. Walker, one of the substitutes in the district, he donated $200 to give to little kids in need. So I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Walker, if you're watching. If not, put it out there. And I am gonna be reporting on the blood drive and the coat drive. The coat drive started last week and is ending on Monday, I think. And we have gotten, from what I know, like a pretty decent amount of coats. And I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I myself have donated some, but like it's just been really cool because to give back to people in need. And we also had the blood drive, which I think we donated, there was 25, 26 units of blood, which I think is pretty cool. That's 26 lives. So yeah, it's just been really great. And the school has been giving a lot to people in need this past couple weeks. So I think it's just been really cool.
Hi everyone. I wanted to start off today about talking about, I think that our school has been doing a really good job at acknowledging like seasonal depression and mental health awareness, and it's been a very positive and supportive like last couple weeks and last couple months. And with that being said, I'm gonna be reporting about the Winter Spirit Week coming up, and I want to say thank you to the student body as a whole, not just our group, but just a lot of smaller groups in the school. They have been doing a really good job with keeping up and being like a big part of our school and contributing a lot in different areas. And yeah, so we have a school spirit week coming up, and it's winter themed and Christmas themed. So Monday we have Winter Wonderland, where it's like everyone's gonna wear white and icy blue and just be creative, I guess, with those two colors and see what they can come up with. And then on Tuesday they have Santa's helpers themes, so they can dress up from like reindeers, elves, Santa the Grinch, anything. Tuesday's ugly sweater day. Thursday's throwback Tuesday, which is we're gonna go back throwback Thursday, my bad. Where I think it's from 2000s to 1980s, I think, just throwing back to that era. Well, not like it was forever ago, but not like it was not like it was that long ago, but but that's what it was themed, so I'm just reporting. Friday is PJ Day, which I'm excited about, and then we have a winter assembly coming up this Friday, which I'm very excited for that also. And I think that this year it has been a very like big change in how much engagement we've had from Spirit Points as a whole school, from freshmen to seniors. Around this time last year, the numbers are way higher this year, and a lot of participation and engagement. And I think it's gonna be a good competitive year for that specifically. So there's that.
Okay. I wanted to talk about a little bit about the elementary schoolers coming to the school, just because I got to participate in that a little bit, and I got to help set up and like help them out with that, and it was really just awesome seeing them like understand that high school is not as scary as they all think it is. And they just kind of got to like make their own stuff, which was really impressive. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was specifically cheer within winter athletics, because while we do have like bigger numbers, I think something really important to focus on is that we have a lot of engagement from kids in TLC classrooms, and it's just really awesome to see them getting out there and getting that engagement and like being able to participate in sports without having to worry about if they're going to be accepted or not. And I've seen a lot of them having a lot of fun. And then just like it was really cool because today we got to learn how to throw a bunch of new stunts, and I was just there before that. We did some like real throws and real catches, and it's just like a lot of growth from last year. It was really impressive.
Thank you so much. And maybe I'll dig out an old Abercrombie and Fitch shirt for the throwback to the 2000s. Let's okay. Um, all right. Superintendent report, Mr. Barry.
Yeah, I mean, just we might need to talk about the order on the agenda. Tough act to follow all the time. I mean, just what you share is amazing. It's always great to hear about just the thoughtfulness, the giving, the support that really happens all year round in this district. And just thank you for your report and sharing. I have a few things. I think I mentioned this before that our website company got bought out. And so we're transitioning to a new site, and Joe and Alan Kuros and some other staff members have been working hard to kind of meet those timelines. And we're excited to unfold that, I think, later in the spring, maybe summer. And there's definitely some more user-friendly aspects of the website. So we're looking forward to sharing that when the time comes. At the JAB meeting last time, you heard a little bit about equitable grading practices. That's a big discussion and a lot of learning. We did order some books, Grading for Equity, just to kind of get us started. And if you're interested in a book, you can come by the office and certainly you can check one out and then get started on that learning process. In your package, you'll see Governor Kotek's statement charting a path forward. This came out last week. I think in response really to the Portland Public Schools and the strike and just the challenges that really presented and some of the things that happened during that month. And so I think appreciated kind of the transparency and kind of a path forward. The next day she released this, some superintendents in Oregon got to meet with her and really had a frank discussion on the state of education and what supports are needed. There's a lot of challenges in our state, and we see each and every one of those challenges in our K-12 schools every day, whether it's homelessness, food insecurity, mental health challenges. We witness it every day. So good document, hopeful moving forward, lots of challenges. I think it sets us up for if you look at where the last part that talks about that kind of the three main areas, it sets us up for the 2025 legislative session and the asks there. Finally, thank you for those that can make the ACC walkthrough formally. It was ATI. If in there, that's an open invitation. If you didn't make it, it is unbelievable. They will have an open house on the 16th, I think from 11 to 2. But it's transformational space now. That's a lot more functional, and just happy for Summer, who really spearheaded that. She's not in that executive director role anymore, but it's an incredible space. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Brent. I have a note here about the TMS community leadership looking for some door decoration judges. You still need judges? Sign me up. I put it in my calendar. Okay. Anybody else in on that? Friday the 15th, 12:15, TMS, if you can judge it. There you go. See, we make things happen here. All right. Okay, I'm excited for this. Next, we have a program report. Javier is going to give us a strategic planning update. Go ahead.
I'm excited for this as well. As we were thinking about, as we discussed moving into the fall, having Javier share at the JAB meeting, but it made more sense to have our schools present and then kind of have Javier kind of wrap it up in a program report after you heard kind of the details of those JAB reports. So, so grateful and lucky to have Javier back in our district, and yeah, looking forward to this.
Thank you, Chairman Campbell, members of the board. I think I broke the microphone.
We were having a discussion before the meeting about how he was going to wear it, and he just decided to break it. So that's one way to do it.
A true mic drop.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds like it's gonna work. Well, thank you for having me here tonight. Today we're gonna talk about the strategic plan. Oh, sorry, my name is Javier Del Rio. I am the Director of Instructional Improvement and Strategic Plan Coordinator. And do you mind putting the presentation up? I grew up during the 80s, so I need my glasses on. All right, so here's what we're gonna do today. First, the first part of this presentation is gonna be actually about the numbers, the strategic plan, where we are today, a little bit of a historical component, and then we're gonna do some participation and engagement. And since we are a learning institution, it's gonna be about all of us learning together, and we're gonna focus on engagement tonight. So I'm hoping to keep you engaged for the rest of my presentation. All right, so goal number one, if you go to the next slide. So attend school regularly, 85% of the students will attend 90% of more of each school year. And students who come to school 90% or more of the time. Okay, go ahead and go to the next slide. Here's the historical from 1617, 1718, 1819, and so on. I bypassed 1920 and 2021 because the rules changed quite a bit on how we kept attendance. We kept kids at home, so I didn't include those numbers. But as you can see, it went up from 1617 to 1819, and then it dropped again to 22-23. That was last year. We were at 65%. And that is the number of students who attended school 90% of the time. So where are we today? Go ahead. 71%. That's where we're at today, year to date. So we have seen a bump up compared to last year so far. Now here, something interesting can you go back for a second? To think about that is that the daily attendance is a different number than the 71%. So you could have 92%, 94% attendance on the daily, but you still have a much lower percentage based on the having students come to school 90% of the time. I want you to think about that for a second. So for example, let's say you have a school with 100 students. One day you have 10 students missing school, right? On that day, you have 90% attendance. Okay, now those 10 students that miss school for that day, let's say it's the first day of school, have missed school 100% of the time because they didn't come on that day. Now, as you progress through the years, you have the same number of students that might miss more than one day, then you have all the added to the equation, and that's why that number is different. The good thing is that there is a correlation. So the more students that we have on average every day, the more likely we are to have a larger number of students coming 90% of the time. All right, let's go to the next slide. On track by 8th grade. I'm sorry, 9th grade. On track by 10th grade. Every student at the completion of 9th grade will have 6 or more credits. Go ahead and click on the next slide. Here's what we're at today, 78.1%. And I had a good conversation with Kaylin today about this, and she can talk a lot more about this than I can. But since you heard her speak about it during the job report, I'm not gonna ask her to do that again. But they're doing a lot to make sure that this number goes up. It's just the first quarter, and she talked about Alison Barber substituting for the science teacher, and I think that has something to do with this as well. All right, let's go to the next. High school graduation, 96%. Go to the next slide. This is a really hefty number. These numbers look really good. So we went from 78, 87, 85, and then we have stayed at 95% over the past couple of years. Getting 95% of the students to graduate in 4 years, it's not an easy task. It requires a lot of people. My question is, are we going to be able to sustain it? Our goal is 96%. And all the efforts are going on at the high school with mentioned 98, the graduation coaches, all the way down to 8th grade. I think that's what hopefully will get us to that 96%. Now we have 4 years to get there, 5 years, but we're still, just 1 percentage point moving up. All right, next slide. Oh, keep going. Yeah. All right, goal number 2. We're gonna spend a little bit more time here. So we wanted to get to 45% of the students in 3rd grade will meet state grade level expectations in language arts, and 35% of the students in 8th grade will meet state grade level expectations in mathematics. Okay, 45% 3rd grade reading, 35% 8th grade math. All right, go to the next slide. I think you have this with you somewhere. So this is a really difficult one for me to talk about because we really haven't met really high expectations just yet. We're getting there. Here's what happened. Before the year 2014-15, we didn't have the SBAC assessment. I don't know if you remember, you've been around for a while, but the Common Core came in and then we changed. Do I have to hold this thing? Okay, great, thank you. And then we changed the way we assess students. So the new assessment, which it was SBAC then, now it's OSAS, right? It just bumped up the rigor of what we're asking the students to do. So then a lot of schools were in the 60s, 70s, and 80% of the students passing the state assessment. And then SBAC came in, and then we saw a big drop throughout the state, basically everywhere in the nation, not just here, but definitely in the state. So that to us was a little bit of the baseline year. And if you look at the data, you see a downward trend in general with some spikes going up and down, but in general, it has been going down. The rigor of the test continues to increase as well. I often hear from teachers that have been teaching more than 1 grade level, that when they taught 4th grade 1 year, and then they taught 3rd grade, 2 years after, and then what they were teaching in 4th grade now is being taught in 3rd grade. And that kind of thing is happening every year. It's kind of really hard to catch up. Go to the next slide. So one of the things that I wanted to do was to track data diagonally. So if a student was in 3rd grade in the year 14-15, they will be in the 4th grade in 15-16, 5th grade 16-17. So I wanted to track how that cohort of students move forward. I didn't account for the number of students who go in and out of our school district. And also depending on the school, that changes a lot as well. So you can see that from 3rd grade to 4th grade, if you look at the average of the number of students who meet that performance, that's a number right there on the blue column, 2nd column. So for example, from 3rd grade to 4th grade, the average growth or decrease was 2.5%. If you look at the data, look at what happens between 5th grade and 6th grade. There is a big drop, right? At the state level, the data shows the same thing, but maybe not quite as big as here. What I haven't done is a thorough analysis or a root causes of why that happens, but it's definitely a big transition and something that we need to consider as kids go from elementary school to the middle school. All right, and then I also added the 21, 22, 22, 23, so you could see what happened between 6th and 7th grade and 7th and 8th grade. Look at that big move. And I think, again, I haven't done a thorough analysis, but I believe that the number of minutes that students spend in math classes at the middle school changed. All right, let's go to the next slide. Oh, sorry, go back one more. So we're looking at the number for 22-23, and we had 29% of our students in 3rd grade meeting the benchmark. We are aiming at 45. So if you click again, we need to grow by about 3.2% per year, and in 5 years we'll be there. It seems like 3.2% is doable. It is really, really hard, because don't forget that if you go back to 14-15, we were still not at 45%. So we'll be accomplishing something that we have not accomplished yet. Okay, now go to math. You can see the numbers for mathematics. You can see that they're lower than English language arts. We never got to 40%. We're close, but not quite there yet. Go to the next slide. All right, and here are the trends. As students move through the grades, you can see a decreasing trend in terms of the number of students that meet that particular content standard. So, and again, what happens between 5th and 6th grade? Okay, and that number is tracking again from one year to the next, a cohort of students. So something to pay attention to. All right, let's go to the next slide. So in order to achieve that goal, we need our 8th grade. We need to get 2.28% of the students grow, additional number of students grow every year for the next 5 years. All right, next. All right, let's pause for a second. I want you to process through that information that we went through, and we went through fairly quickly. When I was preparing for the presentation, I thought I can dig into this and dig into that. I'm going to spend a lot of time here at the high school or the middle school, the elementary school, but I decided to just give you the general numbers. And then I thought, well, since we are a learning institution, part of the strategic plan is about engagement and what happens in the classroom, engagement in the classroom. And part of the strategic plan is about the curriculum, right? What we teach and how we teach it. So we're going to learn together. Ready? Go ahead and take a minute to read what it says up there. See if you can see it from where you're at. Read it quietly to yourself. This speaks to what happens before students even get to us. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So Dibble scores, this is one way in which we measure how students come to us or how they perform in grade level. And we take a look at the number of students who need intensive intervention, how many need a level of intervention, and how many students are on grade level. Green is on grade level, yellow is some level of intervention, and red is intensive interventions. So here's what I want you to think about. What grade level is this data for? Wait. At the count of 3, I want you to say it out loud, everybody, okay? 1, 2, 3. Whoa, okay, all right. Okay. So first of all, that was what is called a choral response, and that will get hopefully 100% of the people participating engage. Okay, this is kindergarten. So the data that we have tells us that in English, over 50% of our students are already in need of intensive intervention, and they haven't received any teaching yet. We haven't even had the time to really work with those kids just yet. And look at in Spanish, 85% of our kids. And this is just the way we assess them. This is, I don't know if you know enough about DIBELS, but DIBELS was developed at the University of Oregon, and it's a pretty standardized measure of how we see whether students are on grade level. All right, let's go to the next. Yeah, will you push play?
What's the word?
I love that video, and we're gonna come back to it. Let's go to the next slide. I'm gonna watch it again. Go ahead. Yeah, let's do it one more time. Go ahead.
What's the word?
It just doesn't get old. Okay. All right. So here's what I want us to think about. Why do we want our students to be active participants in the learning process? Okay, you can see here right now, I listen to my presentation, and you're right now just receiving stuff. You're just listening to me. Sometimes you're like, what did Javier say? The accent gets on the way. Sometimes there's other things happening. What we do know is that learners, any learner, not just students, humans learn by engaging in the process and participating in the process. So we have the curriculum that we got K through 8 is Amplify. Thank you, by the way, for purchasing that. That's not cheap. Thank you, Tiffany, for spearheading that process. And for mathematics, we have iReady. we're going to go ahead and spend some time thinking and learning a little more about the science of reading. It is all over the news all the time. We're hearing about it all the time. Our teachers are hearing about it all the time. So go ahead and let's go to the next slide. Look at this quote. It used to be reading and writing float on a sea of talk. And the researchers got back together. They looked at all of that and they said, well, it's not just reading and writing, it's learning. It could be science, it could be math, all of that. So go to the next. All right, so are you ready? We're going to engage in learning together. Yeah, will you pass that? Yeah. All right, I know you just got a package of something. You probably want to look at it, but just don't look at it just yet. Hang in there with me. I'm going to provide a little structure. I'm going to get you to talk to each other, to discuss, to look at the article and to read together. And you're going to be hopefully 100% engaged in the process of your own learning. Now, in order to get your attention when you're talking to each other, I'm going to use this chime. Okay, so if you hear this, that's going to mean you have only a few seconds to finish your conversation with the person that you're engaged with. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. First, you're going to find, oh, wait, okay, I'm going to be transparent about what I'm doing. I want you to engage with the text. It's really important to me that these complex texts or whatever grade level text you have that you engage with. And in order for you to do that, I'm going to ask you to look for something specific in the text. So you're not just randomly reading. And research shows that by doing that, you're actually going to be zooming in and thinking more about those things that you're reading about. And this could be history in high school, or it could be third grade reading anywhere. All right. So you're going to look for the words human right, illiteracy, moral imperative, college, and workforce. Okay. You're going to highlight those words or underline them. I love it how much attention you guys are paying. You guys are so focused. Yeah. Or come up here. Yeah. All right. So as you are, oh, wait. I have. That's a test run. Well done. Okay. So those are the words you're going to be looking at quietly on your own. Highlight the words, and I want you to think of this. How are these words relevant or important to the point of the preamble? The preamble is what you're reading. Okay. To the point of what the preamble is making in this guide. You're going to have 2 minutes. Don't worry if you don't finish it. Go. If you're not done, that's okay. So I want you to remember what I'm about to do right now. Okay, ready? Here we go. Rebecca, you're gonna be A. Nancy, you're B. You're A. You're B. A. B. A. You're A. B. Javi, you're A. B. Michael, you're A. Brian, you're B. Wanna be a part of this? You're gonna be A. Tommy, you're gonna be B. You're gonna be over there with Denise. A. B. A. B. A. B. A. B. Okay. So the reason why I'm doing that is because if I ask you to talk to your partner right now, who's gonna talk first? I don't know. Some kids are gonna talk. Some kids are not gonna talk. Some kids are gonna be like, well, he's smarter than me. I don't want to. Maybe he read it better than I do. I don't know. So I want everybody to be engaged. A is gonna talk first. I want you to consider that question. How are these words relevant, important to the point the preamble is making in this guide? A talks first. B, your job is not to discuss. I don't want you to engage in conversation. I want you to just listen. Go. 2 minutes. That question. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. B, now it's your time to respond to A. If you got something to say, something to add, something that you found interesting that you want to share with them, now is the time. You have 1 minute. Go. Right. So here's what happened so far. You had a chance to, I'll wait till everybody's ready. You had a chance to read it by yourselves. Not enough time, I know that. And I was done. If you were in a setting which I really wanted you to get the information, I will give you more time. You got a chance to read quietly to yourself, to process the information. You were anchored on some words that you wanted to look for, and you had a question that I wanted you to think about what you were reading. Okay. Then you had a chance to talk to somebody about what you learned or didn't. It's fun to listen to you guys because you're like, I was just in school 3 hours ago. Really? You're doing this? But you're sharing with somebody gets to just listen, because I want you to engage in the cognitive process of just listening. And what that's doing is engaging your brain, getting that background knowledge in there and getting to your neurons to start firing. Then you got a chance to respond. So you have to be patient for a second. And when I looked around, I saw 100% engagement, everybody. And now if I ask you to respond in writing, I know that there's going to be a better chance that you're going to do better on that response than if I just had you work by yourself, listen quietly, and being a passive learner in the process. Okay. So let's go. How long do you guys want to stay here for? Let's go. Let's get to the next slide. All right, I'm not gonna go through the whole process again, but I'm gonna leave you with the presentation because I think it's worthwhile. In my presentation to the left side, if you get the actual link, those are links to Think Pair Share alternatives, and then the actual document, the whole document is there with links. So if you click on that, it will take you to all of that. Next, I will have you do this. Go to the next one. Yeah. And I will ask you to think about this question. I will have you engage with each other or in another way. There are some things called lines of communication. I mean, there's so many things you can do with students to engaging in the process of learning. Keep going. Keep going all the way. Okay. So I will have you read to yourselves, highlight underlying important words, and then be ready to share. Here are ways to share. Lines of communication, create a poster with your partner, come up with 2 questions that you may have. That one is a big one for high schoolers. Let me tell you why. My daughter, for example, would never ask any questions. If you ever ask, does anybody have any questions? She'll be like, no, me, because my question is not gonna be smart. I'm gonna sound dumb. And what if my question is funny and people laugh at me? She will never ask any question. However, she was compliant. So if her task was to come up with a question, she would. So especially she could work with somebody and together to come up with a question. So that's the difference between, does anybody have any question versus you need to come up with 2 questions about what just happened up here. All right. And then what's exciting about what you read and why, and how, there's something I was gonna ask you to think about. How did you learn to read? All right, let's go to the next thing. Scarborough's rope. This doesn't mean that you cannot lecture sometimes, but what the research shows at any level, including the university, that it's about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes of learning, and then you need to pause. And people need to process the information before you go to the next thing that you're teaching. 10 to 12 minutes. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit about learning to read. This came out a few years ago, and they basically talked about how learning to read involves 2 things, language comprehension and word recognition. And then he breaks it down into all these things. Background knowledge, vocabulary, language structures. Our curriculum does all of this. Amplify does all of this. It's really amazing. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any other curriculum up until now that does all of these things. However, teaching all of this is very complex. And if you go from the kinder level all the way to 5th grade, you think about everything that's happening in the classroom, how the brain learns, the kids are coming with less background knowledge, all of those things. And then you have a whole new curriculum, which is, there's so many routines and things you have to learn. So let's go to the next slide. I'm not going to click there, but if you think about the K-2 skills to be taught, a teacher needs to think about phonemic awareness, phonetic segmentation. They need to think about chaining. That's something else that teachers do, that they put letters together. The kids are engaging in the process of background knowledge, teaching all of these, and teaching a lesson in reading is just a lot. Or teachers are learning how to use the curriculum. They are learners as well. And it requires pacing, it requires classroom management, it requires understanding the science of reading while they're doing all of these. And we are right now engaged in the process of teaching and working with our teachers on learning how to do all of this. All right, let's go to the next slide. Let's go back to our kid right here. Go ahead and push play.
M-U-T-L-L-A.
What's the word?
Okay. Here's what we know about this student. If he was a student, I don't think he's in 5, but so what we know is that he knows his words. I mean, his words, his letters, letter names, right? He knows that that's calling N, that's a U, that's a T, that's a E, right? All of that. He understands the concept of print. He understands the fact that there are symbols, N, C, U, all these things that connect to a letter name, right? He also has a ton of background knowledge. What does he know about Nutella? Maybe nothing, but he knows that it's spreadable. He knows that there is something that's spreadable he's familiar with. He knows that that's peanut butter, right? All of that, it's working in the brain. There is nothing in the brain that we're born with, okay, that is related to reading. The human brain, in the human brain, we bolt that in there. What we do have is neurological cells that can see, that can listen, that can hear, that can speak, all of that. And then based on all neurological connections, then we put in the reading component, which is you have a letter, and that letter corresponds to a sound. When you put all those letters together, you have a word. It is complex, but this kid has so much potential, right? They come to us. All right, let's go to the next one. So the reason why I wanted to like delve a little deeper into that is because the work that we're doing with the principals in every level, really, but in particular at the elementary school, we think it's gonna pay off working forward. So we're spending a lot of time in classrooms, watching teachers teach and providing good objective feedback. Okay, seeing what we're seeing involves how many kids are engaged, how many kids are talking to each other, are the kids just listening, or are they just like, I'm gonna give you all that. If I ask a question right now and I ask you to raise your hand, I am gonna engage with one kid here, potentially with one kid here. But if I ask you to talk to somebody, every single person is gonna be talking. All right. We believe that we're having better conversations with teachers based on the data that we're gathering in the classroom. They're non-judgmental. They're about, hey, here's what I observed. Let's learn together. Tell me why you make that move in the classroom. We're doing a lot of coaching, collaborating with the teachers. We're doing a curriculum audit. We just started doing that. We wanted to see how many teachers are actually doing the curriculum, teaching the curriculum, faithfully teaching the curriculum. We're doing teacher surveys. We're doing tons of classroom observations. We have leadership teams in every building. And we have right now, I think we are on the process of finalizing a PD plan, an 18-month PD plan for all for K to fifth grade teachers. So let's go to the next slide. I wanted to give a special thanks to our instructional coaches. We have Alison Barber at the high school, Jamar Boyd at the middle school. We have Jenny Brown. We talked about Jenny Brown a little bit at Phoenix Elementary, Karine Calhoun at Talent Elementary, and we have Lori Evans at Orchard Hill Elementary School. They're spending a lot of time with teachers working on all this. And then here's one thing you can do for our teachers. Thank them, not just for teaching, but also for being a learner, because they're not just doing the work that it takes to teach kids, but the work that it takes to learn how to be a better teacher and implement this curriculum. There you have it. Thank you.
What I feel passionate about and what I'm feeling could be a huge impact on what we're doing here is community engagement. Because we're talking about those kids who are coming in before they, like we have now a preschool program, maybe that could start there, but I feel like we have a long ways to go in community engagement. Partner with our community, our parents, our caregivers, whoever that is, who's touching those children, then we're never going to be able to move those numbers. I feel like if we're doing these things in the elementary school and other schools where we're using the depth of knowledge in our community to help us move these numbers, we can really make a difference. I see a lot of on the slide before where the PD slide. I mean, we can do all we want in this building, but if we don't have a good partnership with our community in championing these things, we're never going to move those numbers. And I would love to see us do a better job of engaging our community to help out with this. And because, you know, it starts with their families, but there's a lot of people in our community who are retired teachers who are there. I'm just thinking about a lot of people who can come in. There used to be, I don't know that we do this anymore, but smart readers. My father and my mother would come and sit in school, and they were, you know, probably in their 70s at the time, with a student and sit and listen and talk and read with them. And that's really how we can mobilize our community around us. And that's what gets me excited about how can we put this out there to get people on board with this.
I just wanted to kind of add on to that, that it's really like, it's tough to get that engagement before you get to kindergarten. Like for me, my family, whew, my family couldn't afford to put me in preschool, and they didn't have the time because my mom would work night shifts and my dad would like, the schedule would overlap too much. And but the way that I did get ahead in reading was that books were just shoved in my face. Like I didn't get the choice to sit down and watch TV all day, every day. And I think that that's really important, is making things like preschool way more accessible, because so many of my friends got to go and I was just like really confused by that. And then I wanted to point out that as a student, all the things that you were talking about, there's a particular teacher at my school who really executes that well. Mr. Roderick, like all day, every day, like helping us think critically, not so much worrying on the facts about history, but like he only gives us a 15-minute lecture. We have partners that he gives us for the whole year. We get to pick them. We like get up and move and we go around the room and we talk about the things on the, like he puts papers on the wall so we get to talk about the concepts. We all get to like discuss things with each other and him. So it's not just a lecture type thing. It's like a lecture followed by like a seminar. I just think if you really want to see like how to progress that, you need to talk to someone like him.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So I wanted to respond to, first of all, thank you for your comment about the community. You're absolutely right. We can get the community engaged in that process. If we become equal partners, we have a better chance at getting our kids where they need to be. I think that our conferences and the way it's been running at the elementary school in particular, we're doing a really good job of bringing parents in and like working with them and teaching them and learning from them what this is all about. And that I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing at elementary schools. And I'm only saying elementary schools because I haven't had a chance to go to conferences at the middle and the high school. To your point in terms of parents, we cannot blame the parents. Parents are busy. Sometimes they're working 2 jobs. Sometimes they don't speak the language. There is so much going on. And that's why the job of the teacher is kind of like a superhero job, right? Because they're doing all these things for many kids that need us to fill in sometimes all those gaps. So thank you for sharing.
I will share too, and I 100% agree on both of those comments. We do have some exciting things coming up that will help expand preschool options for families. Again, I mean, there was talk about if I had my druthers, it'd be, preschool for all, and it'd be ADM funded, whether it was half-time, full-time. It would make a huge difference. And so anytime we ask and advocate it with our legislature, that's vital. Our hope is to have a preschool in every one of our elementary buildings next year. And there's a real opportunity for that. The early literacy grant that you guys are going to be learning more about also has a preschool option too. There's 3 phases to that. There's a K-5 phase, and then there's an early learning phase as well. So there's funding to be able to have more and more opportunities because, the more, the stats and what we read in the first couple paragraphs is amazing. And that lack of exposure at an early age really sets students back as they come into kindergarten. But there is hope, and we know that's important. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much for the work you're doing in our district. I appreciate it very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Round of applause for Javier. Thank you so much. And anyone watching who's giving a program report the rest of the year? That's the standard to live up to. Okay. All right. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Don.
I second that.
Thank you, Polly. Any objections? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. Action items. First one is policy Sorry, it's item H1 policy BDBDA. Mr. Barry?
Yeah, no other comments. It's red language, so.
Yeah, there's been some changes to statute in regards to executive sessions. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the changes to board policy BDBDA as presented.
I second that.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Polly. Discussion? Okay, we'll vote. Rebecca?
Yes.
Nancy? Sarah?
Yes.
Vic? Dawn?
Yes.
Polly?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes. Item H2, BDC executive sessions.
Yeah, same. There was some optional language, but it's tagged to another policy. And if it's optional and tagged to another policy, we typically like to strike it. So it doesn't impact any changes.
Okay, great. Motion?
A second.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Rebecca. Discussion? Okay, Rebecca? Nancy?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Rick? Yes. Dawn?
Yes.
Polly?
Yes.
I vote yes. H3 annual student investment account 2022-23 year-end report, 23-24 grant agreement, longitudinal performance growth targets.
Yeah, I'll just make one note of this, and thank you, Tiffany, for sharing, and Javier for sharing the strategic plan. That there are different long-term growth targets in our plan, our integrated guidance plan. When we work with ODE, they actually encourage us to lower those just out of the historical kind of movement, but we still have our grant, our strategic plan to meet those 45% and 35% targets. So if you see a difference there, we made our strategic plan and we're holding to those percentages, but when we met with ODE to officially turn in our integrated guidance, they're slightly adjusted downward. But I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's good to aim higher. Kids only get one shot, right? Okay. A motion for this.
The 2022-2023 annual student investment account year-end report, the 2023-2024 grant agreement, and longitudinal performance growth targets as presented.
Thank you, Nancy.
I second that.
Thank you, Polly. Discussion? All right, we will vote. Rebecca?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes.
Polly?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes. We will now recess for 10 minutes, 7:18, back here promptly at 7:28.
Yeah, if you can come back over, you can. Come on over. Come on back. Perhaps they're coming back.
I like that. Yeah, that's great. Cool. All right, we ready? Okay, we're back. We will resume the meeting with information and discussion. Item J1 is facilities and bond update.
Yeah, John was not feeling well this evening, so he gave me some things to share. First, we have obviously our partnership with Sodexo. We have some funds to spend this year, and we are now upgrading Phoenix Elementary and Talent Elementary. They had a desire to have walk-in cooler space for years and years and years, and John's creative and the principal's kind of creative thoughts. There was a closet storage space that we were using for, I think, paper. And so we were going to redesign those and have a walk-in cooler space at both those buildings. So that'll make good use of those funds. Within that, we realize the electrical in those kitchens at both Phoenix Elementary and Talent Elementary are fairly old, maybe since they've been built. And so we are going to upgrade everything in there to make sure it's unbelievable. Some of the kitchen staff, well, I have to turn off that one to use this one. And we've done that at home probably. I shouldn't have to do that in a professional setting. So we're going to update the breakers in that electrical. There are, and then within that, his team is going to do a lot of the wall building and the ceiling and things of that nature. So they'll be busy over Christmas break. The tennis courts are looking to approve the design and hope to send it out for bid by the end of January. So that'll be exciting. The Culver master plan is still in the works to annex into the city, and the City of Talent should be hearing that. The council should be hearing that in January sometime. So a lot of work has been happening behind the scenes to get the conditional uses, and meeting with city staff and our consultants have gone very well in that regard. And then finally, Talent Elementary and Talent Middle School, which will be going under seismic renovations this summer. Our contractor Outlier has put out for bid the subs, and we should have a guaranteed maximum price hopefully by the end of this month, which will give us a good indication of where we sit with our bond and some ESSER funds that we're going to use as well. And that's all I have, or that's all John has.
Okay, financial update. Back to you.
Yep. In your packets, you will see a financial update. Let's see here. And this is the most up to date from, I think it goes through October. And we are still sitting fairly solid within the fund balance. As you know, we want to make sure that we continue that when we start hitting the financial cliff here in a couple of years. So I can entertain any questions if you have any of those. I think one thing with our financials as well is if we can move some finances into a fund that ends this year, such as ESSER, community care ends this year as well. We're trying to do that. So if we can move a general fund item, then that really allows us to help maximize that ending fund balance as well.
Very good. Any questions on the financial statement? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
One other thing, we will have the audit hopefully wrapped up here soon. I'm not sure exactly the date. Did we set an audit? Yeah, so it'll be done by December 31st, and we'll probably have a meeting. We'll have Yasmin kind of get that set up as soon as possible. So I think they're just wrapping up the final final documents that they have.
Okay, legislative OSBA update.
I have a lot. I'm going to apologize at the beginning of this because I have a lot. So first of all, and I wrote it down this time so I wouldn't forget. First of all, as many of you know, the board of directors of OSBA is having some challenges. Jim Green is on paid administrative leave, and we will be looking at ending his contract. OSBA staff has been doing an amazing job stepping up and staying focused on students and helping boards. I appreciate everybody that's reached out about their concerns, and if you want to have an offline conversation, please feel free to contact me or chat or call. The executive committee met in executive session on Tuesday. I listened to it, but most of it was under executive session, so I cooked breakfast while I was waiting for them to come back. They will have a public meeting on the 11th at 10 a.m. and that they're going to be setting they're going to be setting the agenda, and I believe talking about steps to move forward to be a stronger board and a stronger organization. To be totally honest, I feel like we all need to step up our game. All of us board of directors need to step up our game and just be better examples for our students and for our other boards. I've been doing a lot of reflecting on, what could have I done in these situations? And I think we all want to be better board members, all the board of directors. I'm speaking, I feel like that. Hopefully the rest of our board all want to come back in the beginning of the year and be stronger, better board members. And I look forward to seeing that happen. Then we're going to have a board of directors meeting on December 19th from 3 to 4:30. And I think a lot of information will be put out. So if any of you, I think some of you are interested on what is going on, and that would be those two meetings would be good to go. They were having a rural schools, NSBA, National School Board Associations, is having a Zoom rural schools on the 13th. There's going to be some Oregon representation there, and I think that will be really interesting. I look forward to seeing how that goes. They're going to also have a rural schools thing at their April conference. The rural school caucus for OSBA we should have the results between the 15th and 18th. I think your last day to turn them in was the 15th. So depending on if board secretaries were as great as Denise and turns them in right away, then it makes it way easier to get the total, but sometimes that does not happen. So once we get that, there will be a small turnaround because we want to have the caucus committees people set up so they can vote on having 2 representatives for the LPC and board of directors, because we have some meetings in January. So there will be, watch your emails. There will be a Google Docs of people. Either you can nominate yourself or you can nominate someone else from your region. It doesn't even have to be from your region that you think would be good on the rural school caucus. Just to be full disclosure, because I always like to be open and honest, I am planning to support Marianne Crandall from Pinehurst to be on this committee. However, we can support as many as we want. So if you have other names that you want, but she showed interest, and I feel like Pinehurst really needs to be at the table because they are one of the smallest districts. And I really think that this committee will help benefit them. I was at PACE meeting right before the law conference that our lovely staff got to go to. There's a lot of helpful stuff that PACE does. So if you ever have a chance to talk, and I think our staff uses a lot of them, we're continuing as a board to a group to work on training and pre-loss. And there was a big conversation about SAM cases, sexual abuse and molestation. And one of the things that we talked about was the trainings that teachers have to do for all of it, the beginning of the year, for insurance purposes and for liability. There's like all these trainings, And some of them, you've seen them for like 15 years and it's the same thing. So teachers tend to go bup, 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 and go. So especially the ones that are really important, that are safety type issues, about changing them up, making them more engaged, like Javier was talking about earlier. And so that it kind of is not just a routine thing and we just like, oh, this is one more thing we have to check off our list. How to make staff and everybody realize the importance and kind of make them start thinking. And I think a lot of times I hear staff say, well, I have to do this and it's so boring, it takes 2 hours. And I think to kind of change the atmosphere and just kind of make people start thinking. PACE came up with a like PSA video that's on their website of and there's some controversy on it, and they tend to make videos more controversial, which is a little bit scary because it's like but they feel like the more controversial and the more thought process there is to the videos, the more conversation. So for example, the controversy is a stat that they put on there that said 11% of I have to look at the stat, but it was talking about very few, 11% of staff members actually report incidents that they feel like are happening. People said 11%, that seems awfully low. I can see Tiffany's face. The stat was old, but we talked to the people that actually are doing the cases for PACE, and they said 11% actually, it's probably 10 or 8. According to when they go in and they do the reports and talk to people. And yes, hindsight is a whole bunch, but like there's a lot of times where so this PSA was kind of controversial because it was showing these different sides. So anyways, if you want to look at some controversial videos, go to PACE. And I'd love to have your input on that, and staff too, of different ways that we can make this more refresh and more like worth your time and kind of help, because I think the safety is really, really important. And we really need to, I mean, not only from a liability standpoint, but this is something that affects the student for their life. And we really need to figure out how to do better every year. So that, and then I'm going to let Sarah talk about the, our reception for legislators.
So there's really not much to report right now, Mrs. Watson, on the legislative reception. It is going to be held in January on Monday, January 22nd at Phoenix High School. So we'd love to have our student representatives join us. We've invited our local legislators and have heard from 3 of them, and we'll be reminding them of that date. We're Grants Pass High School Orchestra is going to has committed to come play, and what we're really looking for is other districts in our region to maybe help with culinary, maybe help with art, bring art or centerpieces, or do something to highlight some of the great programs that are being funded by the budget that they approve, and also where we can talk about the need of the support that we can use from them in this short session. So mark your calendars.
Could you mention the time again?
5:30 is dinner, and 6 p.m. will be when the reception starts. And we're going to give each legislator an opportunity to speak like we did last year. But we'll also have time for question, answer, and networking and after. So looking forward to that in January.
Scott Beveridge, superintendent of Southern Oregon ESD, put out a reminder as well, and he just sent some information. He's going to email you two on who has reached out to do centerpieces and some other things. So yeah, he just emailed me earlier this evening, and I just responded. Yeah, I just sent it to Sarah and Don.
And if you guys have any other questions about anything OSBA, legislative PACE, or anything like that, please let Sarah and I know. Luckily, there was no one that ran against Sarah, so she will be with LPC for 2 more years. I am so excited. And I look forward to working with you for, well, I only have another year, so but I plan to run.
Thank you both for all your work on that. And I love the reception. It's becoming a really neat annual tradition. And I like to think that we single-handedly got the 10.2 billion for the state. So yeah, good stuff. Okay. Equity, diversity, and inclusion update. Soder.
Care. I'd actually love to give you a little bit of some of our statistics and information about two big grants. And then I'm happy to also answer any questions. One, our community care grant has a kind of a funny timeline, but technically we're in the year 2 and the final year of the community care demonstration project, which will end in September of 2024. So the remainder of this year. That means that our first full year, 2023 last year, 22-23 last year was our first full year. One of the partners in the demonstration project, along with Oregon Department of Ed, is University of Oregon and their data analytics team. And they are documenting the demonstration project and really trying to capture what has been done, what efforts are, what data looks like, so that it could be truly something that could be replicated or informed for future use. So last year's data, we received just here locally in Phoenix Talent, we had 554 referrals from our youth and families across grade levels, much higher at elementary school, which makes sense. That's where we started with our community care specialists, and growing in middle school, high school. In categorizing the number one needs, the first and most primary was really basic needs. And that came up earlier in some other stuff, but really meeting families where they're at and what their needs are and trying to address some of those needs in connection to supporting their youth being able to come to school. Next, second was referral to mental health resources and services. That could be both in school and partners or out of school in community resources. And then third was crisis services. Starting this year, as we continue to collect that data, we continue to see a very similar trend. In the districts across the state, there are 4. We are one of 4 demonstration projects. They saw similar needs in terms of basic needs and community resources being the number one need across the state as well. So it was interesting to see that also. So as we go into, we're in 23, 24, as we go into like what might happen with our demonstration project, our team at Oregon at ODE is very dedicated to looking for ways for sustainability and showing impact and effort. We locally are also looking at ways that we can really not just gather this data, but really make a strong connection to what the impact of a community care specialist is to some of the things that you hear about in the strategic plan. How does that community care specialist make a connection to attendance, to early literacy, to on track to graduate, to coming to school, all of those things. And we hope to show you a little bit of some of those kind of experiment and demonstrations ourselves to show that impact. And we think that might be helpful as well to make our own case for the long-term stability of that. We also have had some really exciting conversations with other local partners like community care or coordinated care organizations around how this, funding and stability in our community can be connected and supported. And there's some really exciting conversations about that too. Phoenix Talent comes up in a very positive way when we talk about youth systems of care and other projects that we have going on. The next one I'd like to share is about the school-based mental health grant. That is a calendar year grant. So we're coming up on the end of year 1, which started January 1 of 23, will end on December 31st. That is a 5-year grant. We'll have 5 full years, which feels more, we like that one better. We like that timeline. I just want to kind of do a quick overview. In this 23 year, we hired a counselor at TMS. We added a community care specialist for the secondary level, and we added 4 La Clinica practitioners between therapists and skills trainers. We have 10 of our PTS staff enrolled in a program that we call the QMHA pathway, which is the Qualified Mental Health Associate pathway. that is a billable service that could be one of our very complicated conversations around funding. But folks that provide that service can be school district employees or partner employees and provide services. Our goal over the 5 years was 10. Actually, it was 7. And we have 10 in year 1. So we're really excited about the interest in that and the opportunity that it might be to far exceed our goal. That's really comprehensive. There's basically a year of courses that they're doing on a variety of topics, and then they will acquire 1,000 hours of practicum within their job embedded experience. So a partner at La Clinica will be their mentor and kind of talk through how they practice some of the skills they're learning. We are also part of a pilot project in that the QMHA pathway and some of the other pieces with the Jackson County Systems of Care, Youth Systems of Care team, basically putting different pieces together, one of which is called the SBIRT. It's a, I'm going to get it wrong probably, or maybe I wrote it down. Screening, Brief Intervention, and Referral to Services. It is a digital screening tool that we will give as a pilot at TMS to a variety of kids. And that will give us information about a student's potential risk level. And we will triage that with La Clinica and Rogue Valley Mentors, our community care team, and some of these folks that are doing the additional training, and really talk about how every kid that shows up on that we might not already have on our radar can have a opportunity for intervention and referral to services. It's a way to capture some of those kind of hidden concerns that we might not have coming up for us in other settings. So both really exciting projects and exciting opportunities that we still have coming. Any questions or any anything else?
I got to see one data point when I think there was 3 of us, maybe Nancy, Michael, and myself, helping with the Thanksgiving project. I want to say that I don't know why we never did this program ever before in the schools. Like, so I can't say it enough that what you're doing in this program is so important for our families, and to see the folks that are in need and the relationships that have been built with your staff. And I also know that you are supporting that staff in amazing ways, that it's hard to be in those positions that they're in, because they're helping at all hours, at all times, and not with a break. And also wearing all of those things that they hear and taking it home with them. I think it needs to be at top of mind about the food insecurity that's happening in our district. It is real, and many families here are not living in homes as well. And I want to commend all of you to say, wow, what a great job and what a great program this is. Like, we can't let this go, because I really feel like this is the glue that's helping us really be more of a community, for sure.
And huge shout out to our team for the Thanksgiving baskets and everyone that helped. And a huge amount of that food was actually donated.
How you identify the kids who need help through the SBIRT thing, because I felt like taking the surveys that we get at school, maybe like not everyone answers truthfully, because we don't want to be picked out of that bunch of, like, I don't want to get pulled out of class because I answered something that targets me as on a suicidal spectrum or on an eating disorder spectrum. So, like, is there a way that you're gaining that trust, or how is that?
That is such a great question. This is a survey we haven't done yet. So we will start with small groups. We'll start with some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and then we'll also pilot it at the high school, so that we can answer that precise question, so that we're doing it in small enough numbers that we can see how best to respond and how to make sure it's safe. That's a great question around having someone called out of class as soon as they finish a survey. We're actually doing a training with the developers of the screener. It's out of Portland State University. It's an organization underneath Portland State University. And they've actually done this very widespread in Seattle and King County. I believe they did 90,000 students in 21-22. So we will learn those lessons from them and be sure that that's something that we can do safely. It will be optional. Of course, one of the goals is to try to capture kids that might have risk and need support from us that we don't know, but it is something that a student could opt out of if they feel uncomfortable, or could opt to do that in a little bit more private setting.
It's such a great question. Thank you. I'm so proud of you, our student reps already. Seriously, so great. Yes. Yeah, you guys are setting the bar high. Any other, Garrett? Go ahead.
A big thing I know about old suicidal prevention, whatnot, is a lot of people really don't like talking about it. And you won't say be truthful on those answers, and it's just kind of hard because when that really gets opened up to is with people who they trust. So I feel like a more teacher-based answering spectrum could be a lot better with the students who they, or to the teachers that the students look up to, because they will most likely be more honest and open up.
Thank you for sharing that. That's also in January in both our middle school and high school, our counselors will work with teachers in health and or other subjects, and we will do a student conversation around suicide prevention that will be hopefully more familiar. But I appreciate you saying that, because one of the things we've also talked about is like the work to be well, the student organization, but really that student-led effort to talk about suicide and to talk about the prevalence and the risk, and have that be more student-led and student-based. And I think that Work to Be Well is a great example of that, but also ways that we could partner with the school to think about how can we support, whether it's a training or an information session, or we bring in families and have a conversation about how important it is to talk about it. Or like from the student perspective, how can we share that in a way that is safe for kids?
Good stuff. Excited to hear about talking to community partners on the funding aspect. I was actually going to ask you about that, and then you mentioned it. That seems like a really good thing to explore further. And please let us know if there's anything we can do to help with that those conversations. But it's a really, really good idea. And yeah, I agree, Polly. We need to keep this going for sure. So thank you for the update. All right. Good stuff. Okay. This is, by the way, this is a jam-packed meeting. So thank you all for your engagement and your attention. This is our most jam-packed meeting of the year, I think, for sure. So yes. Okay. Early literacy. Speaking of jam-packed, I'm assuming that's you, Tiffany. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about this grant. So I almost took the mic from Kelly. You did a great job, Kelly. Let's go. So the early literacy grant focuses on kindergarten through third grade. And you've heard that in our strategic plan, third grade is our target for reading kids. And that's important to note, because there's a lot of research out there. Studies show that if a child is not reading fluently and proficiently by the end of third grade, it's very difficult for them to catch up before graduation. So if we can teach students how to decode words and how to find comprehension with that by the end of third grade, then we are setting them up for success. So this grant focuses on the following allowable uses: professional development and coaching, extended learning, high dosage tutoring, and student growth assessment. For us, it is $177,730 this year and $184,984 for next year. And we can roll over any funds that we don't spend this year to next year if we're given that grant. The nice part for us, that's not even enough money to like buy curriculum or that sort or an assessment, but we already have those in place that are aligned with the science of reading. So our Amplify curriculum that we use totally meets the state standards. So thank you, board. for allowing us to adopting that and purchasing that. So that puts us up for good success, as well as our student growth assessment. We don't just have one, we have two. We have iReady reading, and we also have the DIBELS, the dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills, as well as the EDEL, which is the Spanish version of the DIBELS for our Spanish speakers. So really what we need to then focus on is that professional growth and coaching, the extended learning opportunity, and the high dosage tutoring. So what we're hoping to do is to spend about 100,000 of the funds for that professional development and coaching. We have instructional coaches right now in our elementary, but this is really focused on that early literacy coaching and focused on implementation of the curriculum and interventions. And then the second part, the extended learning and high dosage tutoring, we're going to combine those with the funds that we have and provide that tutoring after school and during summers. Extended learning with reading tutoring. So we're pretty excited. We haven't ever done high dosage tutoring before. It's different than remediation. It's actually tutoring within 2 years of grade level. So we didn't know how that would work. So we actually have a pilot going on right now with 30 students. There are 30 students, well, it's actually 33, but 30 students at Phoenix Elementary School. And they are doing their tutoring. It's on the weekends, it's on the evenings, it's virtual, and it's through the Oregon State University. And so far, the feedback we're getting is that it's being well received. We weren't sure how virtual would go, but I talked to a few parents and they said it's highly engaging. So the students are taking classes a couple times a week, and then they have access to tutors 5 days a week for that reading, and they're reading chapter books and they're excited to read. So we're just going to collect that data and see what happens when we do our assessments in January as well, to see, does it work in our context? Is that a good way to deliver it? Before we spent the full 177,000, we're just paying $200 per student. So it seemed like a good try. So we're ready to apply for the grants. The application questions are there that you can see. It does require board approval for the grant application. And I think a lot of that's because the assurances that you see that we agreed to before we could.
Grade levels?
Kindergarten through third grade.
So do we have, do we have of the 33 students participating, are they in each of those grade levels, or do we have a concentration at a certain grade level?
We have a concentration of the K3, but so we have 30 of them, and we have some older students that we wanted to try it out with as well.
I just want to reiterate that that when this first came out, this grant first came out, there was a lot of hesitation, a lot of districts that were frustrated by the grant process. And after those kind of died down a little bit, really what it came down to is districts being set up for success on this, and curriculum was a big one. I mean, it's not enough to buy curriculum, and if you didn't have that, it kind of put you behind. And then the assessment, how do we assess our students? Our ESD helped also, and I think with smaller districts, when literally you're the superintendent, the principal, and the grant writer, that was big for districts as well. Just thank you to Tiffany and Aaron and Javier and just the team to make sure that they had the things we needed to be able to apply. We felt good really from the beginning on this, even though it did seem a little cumbersome. We felt good applying for this, and so this will be on for action in January.
No, you already took action on the one I needed already, but yeah, this one by in January.
Is that time frame okay to approve it then?
Yes,
Or-
actually, the Oregon Department of Education, the applications are due on January 8th, but they did allow an extension to get board approval for that. So we should be okay.
Okay, and it's not competitive or, we just have to submit it, but it's not like we have to submit it before somebody else or something like that.
Right,
Okay.
the allocations are already set. And
Okay.
thanks to the ESD, Tanya Friesendahl had asked, like, what we were doing one of the trainings for the grant writing, and she said, "What could I do to support you?" And I said, "You could write the grant for us."
Yeah.
And so she actually gave us like a Mad Lib type version of the question and answers, and I just filled in the blanks. So I appreciate that. So if you like the wording, it wasn't me. I just put in like our curriculum. Thanks to the ESD and Tanya.
And we don't want to necessarily to make it action tonight to turn it in December because we don't want ODE to think that it was easy process. So if you're listening to ODE, sorry, but we want to, because it is tough for a lot of districts. So
Okay, I will not encourage us to suspend the rules, then we'll go through that. Sounds like we're already doing the work, so it's great.
That's what made it easy, was that we had the curriculum, we had the assessment.
Yeah.
We've already started the training in the science of reading.
Yeah.
So also our Kinder Jumpstart grant has been really nice to focus on our incoming kinders as well. This is our last summer for the Kinder Jumpstart grant, but that's been great too. So we were really in a good position.
Wonderful. Great. Okay. Any more questions on that? Okay. Superintendent goals update, Mr. Barry.
yeah, in your packet, in the red language, I just kind of shared a little bit about the thoughts on update on the goals. In that first section, you'll see family engagement that we talked about tonight, early literacy grant, which we just talked about, and it's a little bit of a challenge because we don't have any funds to draw from, but you can retroactive them to October 1st, which is good. And the grant will be due before the rules are written, if you can believe that. But that's how things work sometimes, but we're in good position to do that. And then just also want to highlight some of the other goals. I think I mentioned in the summer that Denise and I went to a training to really kind of manage, my time and get my to maximize my time in school buildings more. And I feel like that has happened. It's still not nearly enough. But really trying to encourage our district office staff to make sure they're in the buildings, doing observations, calibrating what we're seeing with our teacher leaders in our administration. And that has been, and that's actually the fun part of the job. So anytime we can get out in the schools, it's a lot better. So just, you can read through those. If you have any questions on those, be happy to sit down and chat. I will be scheduling our kind of next round of one-on-ones with board members. I really value that time with you, and we'll start doing our next round in January. So thank you. And I'll entertain any questions if you have it.
Any questions? As the chair, I interact probably a lot more than most of you on average, as you know, Don, with Brent. And I will say I am proud of just the team that you've built around you, and your ability to be able to get out into the buildings more this year. And I know you always feel like it can be more, but I've noticed that, you're there a lot, you understand what's going on in the buildings, and just want to commend you for that. So thank you. Okay, good stuff. Next item is J7 family medical leave. This is just a policy change.
Yeah, some of these policies, first one is basically red language. So not a lot of changes. And then if you want to go to the next one.
Yep. Yeah. Then the next
there is some blue language that we've recommended from our HR department. And so you can take a look at that. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Okay. Any questions on those? And those will be up for action on the 4th. Okay. Most of these changes are related to now that Oregon has the paid family medical leave. We're having to incorporate that language into our policies. So, okay. The agenda for January 4th is there for your review. So if you have any questions or concerns about that, please let me know. And with that, we are adjourned. Good job, everybody.